Welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed your coffee break and had the chance to connect with your fellow attendees. We're now ready to dive into our next exciting session, the second roundtable discussion, titled Embedding Civic Engagement in General Education, International Perspectives. To guide us through this insightful discussion, please join me in welcoming our moderator, Dr. Abdelhamid Ahmed. Dr. Abdelhamid is an assistant professor and the coordinator of innovation, leadership, and civic engagement at the core curriculum program, Deanship of General Studies at Qatar University. With his expertise in this field, he will help facilitate our conversation and ensure a dynamic exchange of ideas among our esteemed panelists. Our distinguished panel for this session includes Professor Lynn Pasquerella, President of the American Association of Colleges and Universities, representing the USA. Next, we have Dr. Haifa Jamalallail, President of Effat University, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And next, we have Dr. Evren Tok, Associate Dean for Community Engagement at the College of Public Policy, Hamad bin Khalifa University, Doha, Qatar. Our esteemed panelists will provide us with valuable insights into the global perspectives on embedding civic engagement in general education. This promises to be an enlightening and thought-provoking discussion. Without further ado, let's begin the second roundtable discussion. Dr. Abdelhamid Ahmed, over to you.
Thank you very much, Hidayah. This is really a very wonderful introduction. I would like to welcome everybody to our session about civic engagement and how we can embed it into our curriculum in higher education from international perspectives. Actually, I would like to welcome all our elite guests today in our panel. We've got Professor Lynn Pasquerella, the president of the American Association of Colleges and Universities in the USA. And we've got Professor Haifa Jamalallail from Saudi Arabia. She is the president of Effat University. And we've got Dr. Evren Tok. He is the associate dean for community engagement at Hamad bin Khalifa University in Qatar. So let me introduce Dr. Lynn Pasquerella. Professor Lynn Pasquerella is the president of AAC&U since 2016 and formerly served as the president of Mount Holyoke College. She has a strong academic background, having held many positions in higher education at the University of Hartford and vice provost for academic affairs, dean of graduate school, and at the University of Rhode Island. She's also a philosopher. I like it. And whose work focused more on various topics, including medical ethics, metaphysics, public policy, and philosophy of the law. Her book, What We Value, explores the role of higher education in addressing contemporary ethical, legal, and public policy issues. Dr. Pasquerella holds honorary degrees from multiple institutions and has been named one of America's top 35 women leaders by diverse issues in higher education. So let's welcome Professor Pasquerella on board. Our distinguished speaker, Professor Haifa Jamalallail, she is the president of Effat University at Saudi Arabia. She holds a PhD in public policy from the University of Southern California. Prior to joining Effat University in 1998, she served as the first dean of Girls Campus at King Abdulaziz University in Saudi Arabia. She is the president of Effat University in Jeddah, and she is a renowned leader, academic, and advocate of youth engagement with expertise in women's education in the Middle East and entrepreneurship. She authored numerous articles and delivered keynote speeches on various subjects. In 2005, she was recognized as one of the 1,000 women for Nobel Peace Prize. And Dr. Haifa received multiple awards, including Innovation Award, Saudi Sayyidati Queen Effat Distinction Award, and among many others. So let's welcome Professor Haifa on board. Thank you very much. Our distinguished guest, Professor Evren Tok. He is an Associate Dean of Community Engagement and Associate Professor at College of Public Policy at Hamad bin Khalifa University. He also acts as the Regional Coordinator of the Executive Master Programs, Development Policies and Practices, jointly offered by Graduate Institute of Geneva and HBKU. He is the co-editor of Policy Making in Transformative State, The Case of Qatar, published by Belgrave Macmillan, and he is also the director of a QNRF-funded cluster for more than 5 years entitled SDG Education and Global Citizenship in Qatar. He is the lead project investigator for Qatar National Research Fund Priority Program on the Maker Space entitled Maker Majlis, Islam in a Global World, which received Qatar Sustainability Awards under Best University Initiative in 2020 and OIC Sheikh Hasina Award for Best Innovative Idea in 2022. He also has been honored with the Best Research Project Award at Hamad bin Khalifa University. Welcome on board. Thank you very much. So let me start talking about civic engagement from a personal perspective. From your own point of view, what comes to your mind when you hear the word civic engagement? The first time you hear it, and how did it impact you for future reference? Let's start by Professor Lynn. Yes, working.
Thank you so much. Is it working?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, when I think of civic engagement, I think of multiple ways of students interacting in the community. That phrase, civic engagement, is often viewed in terms of voter registration or political activism within a community, but we tend to think of it in more broad terms, and that is ways in which students can engage with the community in hands-on learning that are connected to the curriculum, where students can reflect on those experiences. And what we've seen is that those types of student engagement activities have a more profound impact on students' ability to learn over the course of their lifetime than those that are just limited to the classroom.
Input? No? Just long press on this one to make it green. Once it's green, it's working. Yes.
Okay. Abdelhamid. I always think of civic engagement from two perspectives, the macro and the micro. From a macro perspective, I always think of how I can be a steward to the global common, the whole globe. What is it and what is my role in it?
Yeah.
And on a micro perspective, I always think of how I can make a difference on different levels,
Yes.
as an individual, in the community, in the my institution, the community at large, the nationalism versus globalism. This is how I see it. Yes.
Interesting. Thank you very much. Professor Evren Tok. Not working? Just click on it.
I think it's working right now. Can you hear me? Perfect, yeah. So, I mean, there are so many different ways to look into the way I see it, but I will start with the most fundamental one. I feel that civic education and civic engagement, like my colleagues mentioned actually, it's more than just kind of the broader political activism or engagement, but it's more about what's your role and what's your visibility and your impact, right, in the community. And speaking of that, often we start with awareness. So to be socially and community-wise aware of the things, the challenges that we face. But in my view, this should be kind of followed by 3 additional steps, which I will just mention those steps and then I will finish there because I know that there will be other questions. So the first is awareness. So what is the thing that I'm really passionate about? How do I build my awareness in a community? And secondly, what is my intent? What's my higher objective to engage in something that really appeals to me? And the third one is, among different options, what is my choice? I cannot do everything, so what do I choose to act on? And finally, the courage, right? It's very important to engage in civic action, right? What am I willing to risk by being part of that engagement? So,
interesting. Thank you very much. Well, when I start, let me share with you what I think of when I started. Throughout my life, I started thinking of receiving from others, like their knowledge, their skills, their attitudes, which shaped me as a whole. And when I started coming back from the UK to teach at university level in Egypt, I started, why don't I give back? So I started to find out what are the challenges, and I focused on children at the end of stage certificate. They were very much challenged by the English language. And when I dipped delved deep down into the problem, I found that it's a matter of an attitude. It's not the language that is difficult. It's children's attitude towards the language. So I started to make them love the language. And then their attitude was really welcoming to the language, and they learned it quickly. And this inspired me when I came here to Qatar to work on the first year seminar course on developing civic engagement research project, which also was resonated in the UNIF 200 course. Right, so from your own point of view, how do you see university incorporating civic engagement into the curriculum at the university level? Let's start with Dr. Haifa.
Okay, I think I start by the idea itself and how you plant this in the heart and soul of the individual as a students. And I think Islam gave us really the foundation for that when he said, you are the steward of in this universe.
Yes.
And الإنسان خليفة الله في الأرض.
Yeah.
From that perspective and from that principle, it's really important really to instill this in the student and how you give back to the community. So we started really integrating, of course, different kind of methodology. We started doing it since 2010, and integrating service learning, integrating some activities that really connect us to the university, because I always tell the students and the faculty and everybody, and university is the community, and the community is the university. الجامعة هي المجتمع والمجتمع هو الجامعة. So it's both in English and Arabic. I always really repeat this. Without really the community, you are not a university, and without the community without the university is not a community. So, and this kind of a connection, if you give back to your community, if you really work hard, really to put a lot of effort, then you can do. So integrating this into the extracurriculum, the co-curriculum, and the curriculum itself by different kind of ways, projects, initiatives, and some ideas, some partnership. This will help a lot really to make the student really be aware of the community and their needs.
Fantastic, I like it. Dr. Evren Tok.
Thank you so much. I mean, there are again multiple ways that we utilize in Hamad bin Khalifa University, and more specifically, because I'm part of the College of Public Policy, I will kind of give some examples that are more closer to us and that we initiate. One of them is I've been actually initiating Lego Serious Play as part of gamification and the whole concept of serious play and how it can be used to increase the kind of and expand the imaginaries of students. So often students are very aware, they are very active, but often they cannot really kind of frame what they want to do. So using Lego Serious Play and similar gamification techniques and tools, we try to help the students to look at the world by choosing different metaphors, so, and how they can expand their imaginaries beyond the existing dominant narratives. So it is critically important to identify new problems, because we are living in a world where there's a high deal of complexity, right? We are faced with complexity, ambiguity, and in this world, there are new challenges. So it's not like the kind of the old challenges are, yes, they are, but some of them are being transformed. Yeah. So how to connect with the world is really critical. And we use, for instance, let me give you another example, user journey maps. Why this is critical? Because civic engagement, is part of it is about responsiveness. So for our public policy students, we tell them, think of a public service that you have received recently in a health clinic or in immigration, and from the moment that you enter the building until the moment that you leave, how was your experience and how can we analyze it to make things better? So if they can analyze it better through design thinking and through other tools that we are using, like moral imaginaries, then they are able to identify the areas where it can get better. If you want me to give you a very concrete example, in one case, for instance, we realized that often in hospitals, people, the last thing that you do in hospital is you, after your medication, after your prescription, everything, you go to the pharmacy, and there are long waiting lines in the pharmacies, and then people are already sick. So how can we solve this issue? Because if people respond to the service providers in a way that they provide insightful information, then there's room for change, right? So that's that responsiveness is something that we are working on in the program.
Yeah, this is really amazing, the giving spirit, without waiting for a return. Dr. Pasquerella, what do you think?
Well, at AAC&U, our mission is to advance the democratic purposes of higher education by promoting equity, innovation, and excellence in liberal education. So we believe that there's an inextricable link between liberal education and our nation's historic mission of educating for democracy. But the equity piece is important. So in order to provide access for all students to the high-impact practice of civic engagement, civic learning, we believe that these opportunities need to be embedded in first-year seminars, in capstone experiences throughout the general education curriculum, and in the major. So multiple pathways to civic engagement. I also talked earlier about the importance of institutions serving as anchor institutions, demonstrating that your success is inextricably linked to the psychological, social, economic, educational, health, well-being of those in the communities in which you're located and those you seek to serve. That builds on political scientist Benjamin Barber's notion of colleges and universities as civic missions, where we not only educate people to be free, but we free them to be educable by serving as a visible force in the lives of those who are most underserved in our society. So creating opportunities to take advantage of local epistemologies that will inform our work, do some reality testing for us, but also provide opportunities for our students to engage in learning in ways that enable them to exercise moral and sympathetic imagination. Imagining what it's like to be in the shoes of another different from oneself is more important than ever, given the wicked problems and grand challenges that we're facing as a society.
Excellent. Building up on the challenges, when we think about embedding civic engagement into higher education, it doesn't go without challenges. Of course, anywhere in any context worldwide, you might face some challenges. So what are some of the challenges that you might face in implementing and embedding civic engagement in universities, and how can you overcome them? Right. Would you like to start?
Sure. Well, I mean, the challenge is that faculty feel pressured to, given the promotion and tenure structures in most universities, they're not rewarded for engaging in this type of behavior. And so unless it's rewarded in the tenure and promotion process, faculty will see it as a co-curricular or ancillary activity as opposed to a part of the core curriculum. There's also content that needs to be delivered in many courses. And so that's why building it into the major, into the general education program, reduces those barriers and pressure. But having administrators who reward this type of work, providing incentives in terms of funding for civic engagement, and partnering with the primary and secondary schools, business and industry, creates new opportunities and new pathways for us.
Excellent. I think we are very lucky at Qatar University that we have got the Civic Engagement Award every year. Yes. So encouraging faculty to get engaged with the community, whether at university or at large.
It's extraordinarily important.
Yes, thank you very much. Dr. Haifa?
Yes, I think aligning with the same concept and the same ideas of how we can encourage the student, the faculty, and all really to engage in such activities, we need really to remove the misconception about civic engagement, or maybe clarify more about what do we mean by civic engagement, because most of us really have different kind of concept in their heads. Yes. So, for example, I think most of us, I don't know, maybe in most of the Muslim world and Arab world, is really like, connect with charity. And this is really important for us to build on it, but there are more than this. To give back is not only giving as a charity, but also how you help with your self in order to correct something in the community. So one of the areas that we use in order to overcome this kind of a misconception or ideas and align it to whatever really the global idea of civic engagement is, really encourage the student, for example, to be a role model and to play different kind of role that really resembles the idea of civic engagement. So, for example, like, in most of the US and Western world, they have the student association or So we cannot really implement this as it is in Saudi Arabia. So to give the student the voices and to make them really talk about their community. So we have really created what we call Student Shura. Student Shura is really something that really resembles the Majlis al-Shura, the Shura Council in Saudi Arabia, which really, it's political kind of entity, but really make the students understand the government, how it works, and at the same time, how you can really reach with your voices to the responsible people and decision makers. So resemble this kind of, I think, activities inside the university really made a big difference for the student really to participate in different kind of decision-making bodies in the community.
Excellent. So this is like igniting the giving spirit. And this is what I found also with the Qatari students here. Once you ignite their passion about volunteering and civic engagement,
Yes.
they delve deep down into it with their hearts.
Yes.
And this was really a very good example with the Syrian and Turkish earthquake last year.
Yes.
And this year with the Libyan floods and the Moroccan earthquake. So
Yes.
they get really involved into this.
I think one of the example was really like the flood in Jeddah, and it was really
Yes.
all the students really voluntarily participated in how to help others. I think there is another, on a national level, was really activated or ignited really the volunteering activities of the students with, there is a platform called Ihsan. And so everybody really has either an idea of really giving back to the community, has to really upload these activities on this kind of platform, so everybody really will participate.
Exactly.
So government, individual, business sector, all will really put these kind of opportunities. So people started really looking at, if I want to volunteer, then I go and register there.
Yes.
And really put this kind of interest in the way that I want really, which area that I want to volunteer for.
Well, this is really amazing, and this resonates also with what happened with us last year at the FIFA World Cup. We've got lots of students who wanted to volunteer, but they didn't know the mechanism and how to do it. So Qatar University responded quickly by creating a new course called Community-Based Learning, UNIF 220, to which lots of students, male and female, in Qatar volunteered in the FIFA World Cup and made it a very good success. Dr. Evren, any challenges based on your experience in higher education?
Yes, I mean, I think the primary challenge is maybe it goes back to the philosophical roots that Dr. Lynn actually mentioned earlier. Is civic engagement an end itself, or it's a means to an end? So I often feel that students see it as a kind of like it's just the final destination. Just if I engage, then it's fine, and it's kind of like where it's the harbor. But it's not really. It's the process. It's a means to something else, and that means is like a kind of like a journey, right? I mean, often we say, okay, I want to go and do beach cleaning over the weekend. It's just this activism, but then. In design thinking, sometimes we do this kind of really extreme exercise, which is what do you need to do in order to kind of, let's say, brush your teeth, right? People say, okay, I go to the washroom and then kind of take my brush and then wash. But it's not the case. Like I have to kind of stand up, use my arms, and then kind of straighten myself, walk to the kind of there, open the light, and then take the kind of brush. And then, so if you start thinking of a process in terms of its kind of smaller steps, then you really understand the areas that we need to work on. I feel civic engagement is something like this, that people see it as like, okay, I will go and do it. But in order to go to the beach and do some cleaning, what do you need to do? You need to actually arrange your workload, your school should organize something, you need the vehicle, you need this and that. So it's one example, but if you extrapolate in other areas, then things get more complicated, because not everything, I know that beach cleaning is admirable, but if you think of other areas of civic engagement, then it might be very, very cumbersome. So this is a challenge, that we don't really look at the middle steps, even including embedding in a specific assignment, involving the parents, the school, the time management and resources and so on and so forth. So that is one challenge that I feel, and the second one is the kind of the balance between the individual who has a passion and at the same time the system which has a lot of kind of like history and impediments and kind of limitations, etc. So if you think of them as two Venn diagrams, there is an intersection. The passion of the individual, the needs of the individual, the persona, the empathy that we do, plus the systemic realities. How can we create a kind of reconciliation, a kind of like a way that people are not really overwhelmed by the complexity, and the system is kind of open to kind of bring that kind of individual citizen participation in order to make things better. Yeah.
Excellent. This is really leading us to the next question about how can we involve other institutions other than higher education, like governmental, non-governmental institutions in the country, to collaborate with our students and involve them with the community, giving them a sense of the significance of civic engagement within the different levels, at the meso level, the micro level, and the macro level at the national level. Would you like to start, Dr. Haifa?
Yes, I think I'll give an example.
Okay.
Maybe you will see it later.
Sure.
I think we got into really like, fundraising kind of projects, and fundraising project and a course about that. That will help the different philanthropic association really to get the fund that they want. And then we got a donor, okay, that really will put some money in order really to give it as an award. But the role of the students is how really they can really go over and do some research about which one of these philanthropic associations deserve the fund. So, and this is really a process that requires a lot of really kind of studies and research the whole semester, and knowing exactly what are the needs of every philanthropic organization. And then you will tell the student, you will stand up and then defend your choice.
Yes.
And then in front of the donor. So the donors are available, so they will really pay the money, and then the award they award the money for the institution that really deserves. So that's the process that required. I could collaborate with different institutions, with the philanthropic organization in the community, and the donors. And I want really to make also very important that the student really studies civic engagement from another perspective.
Well, this is really fabulous in terms of relating academic research study with the civic engagement and the persuasion skills that students learn with the negotiation to convince the donor. High impact, yes. Thank you. Dr. Lynn, would you like to share with us some of the examples that the different colleges and universities in the US share in terms of civic engagement activities?
I can talk about 3 that I've been involved in. When I was at the University of Rhode Island, I taught courses in philosophy of law. I also taught courses in public administration ethics to leaders of government agencies throughout the state. And I happened to be partnered in the project with the warden of the women's prison, who was concerned about reforming the organizational and institutional culture within prisons in the state of Rhode Island. And I was teaching my philosophy of law class one day, and my students said, "Conditions in prison sound better than they are in our dorms." And I said, "I don't think so, but let's go see." And so I started a project called the Prison Project, where my students would serve as liaisons between the pretrial defendants and the public defender's office. And they would write up the cases of the inmates. And without that service of transmitting them to the public defender's office, the client wouldn't see her attorney until the day of the court appearance, which didn't allow for the most zealous advocacy. They also went on to do counseling, drug counseling, tutoring, discharge planning, a whole range of services for not only women in the women's prison, but also in the men's facilities, in men's maximum security, medium security, minimum security, and in juvenile detention. So it's a project that continues today. It's been going for close to 30 years now. And I would ask my students to write journals at the end of each week talking about how their experience related to whatever theories we were discussing in the classroom. So it's important to make those connections, to have them reflect on the learning objectives for the course in relation to the civic engagement they've been involved in. And then another project I was involved in when I was president of Mount Holyoke was a project that taught second graders in a school in a very poor community where there were 100% students of color to do critical thinking using children's books. We have popular children's books, Frog and Toad, Morris the Moose, The Giving Tree, The Important Book. These are seminal children's books in our culture. And our students would go in and they would ask students to answer questions based on the books. It's not as if we were going in and teaching Kant's categorical imperative or, fancy theories of utilitarianism. But we were asking them to engage in the kind of critical thinking, take a position, propose an argument. How might somebody object? How would you respond? To, again, speak across differences. And what happened is one day I was taking my students in to teach a new group of second graders, and a fourth grader, 2 years older, peered around the door and he said, "Those are the philosophers. They're going to change your lives." And at the end of the semester, we would bring those students, the 7, 8-year-old students, onto our campus, and we'd give them a button with Morris the Moose on it. It said, "I'm a philosopher." And we'd take them through a graduation ceremony. But we also brought them into the science labs, and we had them learn about sea urchins, and we brought them to the art museum, and we had them critique 2 pieces of art. And then we brought them into the chapel where they got to listen to an organ and they learned how sound was made. And every one of those students, when they left campus, said, "I want to come here, I want to go to college, I want to teach." And so it's creating access for students who otherwise wouldn't feel welcome on campus, because no matter how many times you invite someone into your home, if they don't feel welcome, a sense of welcome and belonging, they won't come. And so that's what we were trying to do through that example of civic engagement.
Excellent. I think I can relate to this in relation to reflective journals. So once the students volunteer in different fundraising events, and then you ask them to write a reflection on what they have experienced, you find lots of emotional sentences expressing their feelings and how many skills they have learned from planning the stage until they implemented the event. So it's really very useful. Dr. Haifa, would you like to share with us some of the examples and initiatives that you apply at Effat University for civic engagement?
Okay, there is another also, I think, incident that happened at, in Jeddah, which is really about the Corniche of Jeddah and Red Sea. And a lot of divers are there and started really to complain about the coral reef, and this is really and how it's really going to damage the whole environment and everything. So the whole team in Effat, faculty and staff, and in collaboration with MBC, and in collaboration with the, I don't know if you know Ahmed al-Shigeri program, well known in the whole Arab world. His program in Ramadan, before the breaking the fast, Seen, the name of the program is Seen.
Yes.
So at that time, we collaborated with the MBC and him, and we said, okay, how about really delivering a message that the Red Sea is a wealth? So preserve it. So, and we wanted really to show this in a piece of art. So all the divers in Effat with some community divers really went and grabbed all the some of the trash in the sea and put it on the surface, and then they collected with the municipality of Jeddah, and then we brought it to Effat. And we showed how it is really dirty. This dirt, we need really to make sure that the whole community of Jeddah understand how it is dangerous. So the design school with the humanities and the architecture structure, or built a structure of a fish.
Yeah.
This fish was really like, all was really like, her stomach, and it's everything is really like, full of that kind of trash. And I think you will see it in the video. And everybody was excited. So Ahmed al-Shigeri delivered that message in MBC. MBC is really well known in the Arab world to broadcast how it is important really to save the sea from these kind of mistreatment.
Yeah, this is like moving the civic engagement from the local level to the international level
To the
with a very strong message of significance.
Exactly.
Thank you very much, Dr. Evren Tok.
Yeah, I mean, after these wonderful cases, it's really kind of like I'm inspired. So maybe the first one that I can share with you kind of dates back to the COVID times, where we were really limited with options, especially that we had to rely entirely on the digital environment. But at the same time, it gave us different options. And specifically what you just mentioned, how can we take civic engagement to a level beyond the national borders, more regional, international, even global? So at that time, we initiated a program called Design Post-COVID Humanity. So what we wanted to do was to bring together different young members, young youth actually, around the kind of the Middle East and North Africa region, and from Arab world to back to Turkey to Azerbaijan. So it kind of our geography to kind of to make it a bit more condensed. And then after that, we had students from all over the world. We had more than 1,000 applications, and then we had to narrow it down to around 138. And what we did was, it was a 7-month program. And the program was focused on 3 important, let's say, domains, which we kind of felt that they are all existing in different faith groups. First one was cooperation. Sorry, first one was introduction, ta'aruf, cooperation, ta'awun, and then tarahum, mercifulness. So different faith groups, different religions focus on these 3 important key values. And then we said, how can we use these values to bring the youth together? And second layer, how can we apply design thinking, especially human-centered design stages, like from the idea, from the aspiration to ideation to design to implementation, and then at the same time, how can we make it relevant to sustainable development goals? At the end of 7 months, all these workspaces, integration of small and medium-sized innovation labs from Lebanon to UNDP, from Morocco to Turkey to US, and we kind of had this really wonderful long experience where people realized that they can make a change even during the time of the COVID in their community if they are able to collaborate with others. So the civic engagement had this kind of digital and internationalized space, and the results were really interesting because at the end we had 4 projects which were shortlisted, and they were all collaborative. Let's say the Lebanese youth working with the youth in Qatar to come up with an application that can actually support the people who are homeless and who are actually in need of, let's say, certain educational tools, or employment, or others kind of in terms of water, it could be anything. So, and we had a lot of partners to support this program. And secondly, the other program that I can mention was, sorry, just I'm checking out because I have so many, I'm trying to choose the one that's more effective. Our micro courses. It sounds a little bit simple, but often what happens is we get a lot of invitations from big events. One of them is Organization of Islamic Cooperation. Every year, for instance, they do this International Volunteerism Week. And they do it in different countries of the OIC, member of OIC. And they invite youth to teach the youth, which is an important, I guess, civic duty. So what we did is, in some of our courses, we created a course within the course where, let's say, 20% of the kind of the grade is students in groups, they come up with a crash course, a brand new course within that course, and they teach their peers, and they are evaluated based on their teaching. And us as professors, we say, we are the students in this course, so you are the kind of, and then based on what they do, we send them to these big events where they can apply their teaching skills in these volunteerism or campaigns or kind of weeks elsewhere. So it's just another example of how peer-to-peer could be really an interesting way of improving and promoting civic engagement.
Very, very insightful indeed. When we start planning our civic engagement activities here in different courses at the core curriculum program, we think about regular students, and then we start with within the team to think about what about special needs students, whether they are learning difficulty students or talented ones. So we start thinking how can we involve everybody not because of your learning difficulty or disability, we will stop you or challenge you from doing the activity. And then when we approach those students, we find wonders. How talented these students are in terms of creating videos to share with the community about the same issue, or drawing beautiful pictures representing it, and then they come to the event and they are more enthusiastic than the regular students. So do you have some similar reactions, let's say, or procedures to involve both regular and special needs students in your higher educations in the different contexts? Dr. Lynn.
One of the projects I was involved in was a team that I led. It was an interdisciplinary, interinstitutional, vertical research team where we were developing clean water solutions, sustainable agriculture, and entrepreneurship for women in Kenya's West Lake District. And the population in these communities, we were working with communities of women, had a 33% HIV rate, 69% poverty index. 80% of the families were polygamous, so different cultural context for our students. And it was a time when women didn't have landholding rights, they didn't have voting rights. And so we were looking first at simple engineering solutions around clean water. And the population spoke neither English nor Swahili. They were speaking Luo and were illiterate. And so one of the projects that we developed to communicate clean water solutions using clay pot water filtration with colloidal silver around the rim, or using sand filtration, or moringa seeds as natural flocculants, were communicated through kanga cloths. So we had our students design kanga cloths and then help the residents market them. Of course, not everybody could come on these trips. And so we had students back on our campuses. We were working with University of Hartford, places I had been, University of Rhode Island, but also MIT, and a whole range of colleges, Brown University. We had students in different programs, regardless of their ability, come up with projects that they were passionate about. So some wanted to work on design. So students from the art school came up with designs, and the first designs they came up with wouldn't work because they were working with images that they saw on the internet of African women in Kenya. Right. And those were all Maasai women. But the women we were working with, the Luo women, were more robust. And so they said, that's not us. These women are too skinny. We want to be represented as healthy women. So they learned from that cultural interaction. People in the business school came up with business and marketing plans. People in natural resource economics came up with a different kind of hydrology plan. And so people at different levels, from undergraduate to graduate students with different abilities and different passions, were able to contribute, whether they were on site or working in their classrooms.
Very good. So this is an example of how students of different skills are being integrated into the civic engagement. Dr. Haifa?
I think I can really give a story about Model UN. I don't know, all of us really aware of this kind of interesting project that helped the student go into really a good speaking and communicating and debating any ideas, and on a level of an international level. Well, some of the students are not able really to travel and to New York. So, and I saw some of the students that really underprivileged, so from communities, and so I saw the different kind of friends in the same group collected really the money and really made a big difference for those students to travel with them. Wow. And then when they went there, because they saw that they're really wonderful, and this is between them only. So they presented us really well. And the session that they really were part of that. So it's a very small, but it is very important for us to see that this kind of a community engagement, teamwork, diverse group really help each other really inside and outside.
This is really amazing, removing the sense of being disadvantaged among the community as being one of them, so a sense of belonging. Thank you very much for sharing this nice story. Dr. Evren Tok?
Sure. I mean, one of the examples that I can give is the component, which is called Build Your Own Policy Lab, which is one of the components of our program. And usually, you know, the policy labs are either supported by the government, or they are semi-governmental, or they are sometimes standalone centers which provide experimental designs to make things better. There are so many different examples, and even there's a concept of labification in the world. So we kind of got inspired from it, and we integrated a component called policy labs, and where students identify a problem, they work in groups, and they specifically engaged in something called equity-centered community design. So, speaking of this, and we have this whole course on this, and then after that, during the course, they start devising a project. And while they're doing it, of course, equity is often intertwined with inclusionary issues and diversity, justice, and so on and so forth. So some of the projects that have emanated from the Pulse Lab experience was really very relevant to your question. Specifically, one of them, if, by the way, the students come up with a strong theory of change and a strong kind of design and an implementation plan, we even provide some seed funds to make it work so that they can apply equity-centered community design in reality. So one of them was about one of our students who had 2 children with autism. And she has been kind of working on a guidepost in her community, because one of the biggest challenges in the community, especially for the parents with children with autism, is the lack of information, or the challenge, the limitation in terms of finding reliable information and understanding the ecosystem. So the whole project was creating a website and application to be able to be a guidepost to the parents who have children with autism. So, which actually she ended up successfully, and now it's being launched. And it was also part of Qatar World Cup's last year accessibility kind of initiatives. And it was portrayed. And some of our students worked on women who face some violence at home, and what kind of, especially women with certain disabilities. One of them actually was a project called Qatar, Alina's project over there. She's one of my previous students, now working full-time. So she went to Pakistan. So she worked with the women with disabilities who don't have a home, and then how to make their products accessible to the world markets.
Fantastic.
So these are some examples of how equity perspective could be really embedded within civic education, which I believe is very critical.
These are amazing efforts. Thank you very much for sharing. Dr. Haifa, would you like to share with us some of the activities through pictures and taking us through these ones?
I think this is what I talked about, the fish.
Yeah.
Okay, and I don't know if this is the collaboration between MBC. And this is really the Saudi Games torch relay. And this is really like, you know, for 2 years in a row. We usually, host them because we wanted really the women to be part of the whole sports. And for 2 years in a row that the women in Effat started really to hold this torch. Okay. So this is the second year, this is the first year. Okay. Both of them really participated, and one of them are a diver, and the other one is really a swimmer. Okay. So both of them really won the national competition. So these are 2 examples of really being part of the community and how to serve the different ideas really we needed to do. And this is also, again, another example for to plant. We plant a tree inside Effat and outside. So inside Effat, we start really doing this with the community, with the student and faculty inside Effat, and then we took that into another level in Jeddah, in the whole Jeddah, because we wanted really to make sure we're part of the other than this, there are so many examples. I don't want to take time, but it's available. This is the Talwar Network. It's an international agency that we work with in order really to serve what we call the preparing the next generation leaders. So every year we send some of our students really to be part of a whole almost 31 nations, and they speak about in different topics. So they present their voices yes. to in these kind of Thank you. This is another one also for Khulud Al-Fadli, a graduate of Effat in cooperation with local governmental environmental organization with Jeddah municipality. And they won, and that's another program called Women in Technology. We taught almost 500 female in Jeddah and the surrounding area, only the technology because they literacy, like the information literacy, this is the digital literacy. Those are our donors for the program that I talked to you about, the fundraising. They are the Jafali group, and they are really, both of them, the husband and wife, really are the patrons for this program. So they come. So the students are presenting everything here, and they'll just really get together in order really to fight for which one of these institutions that really deserve the best. We do a lot in Ramadan with the different kind of initiatives. نكسوهم مما نحب. This is كسوة ستنا عائشة رضي الله عنها. It's we host this every year as people from all over Jeddah. They really send their clothes, the unwanted one, and then we clean them, we fold them, and then we make it available like an exhibition or a market. Anybody can come and pick it, organized in a different ways. Catmosphere this is for the cat. We usually do it inside Jeddah. We walk from over the Corniche with in humanitarian kind of a cause that really will help the students. And this is for Green Jeddah, what I spoke about, and this is only for not only in Effat but outside.
Thank you very much. This is really amazing. Thank you. Let's join me in welcome and thanking Dr. Haifa for such an amazing initiatives in Saudi Arabia. Yeah. Doctor, would you like to comment?
No, I will just say that...
I'll just show your initiatives in a minute. Dr. Lynn, Pasquerella, these are some of the activities that you shared with us in the different American universities. So would you like to comment or just take us through them?
Well, this is an example of the project I talked about with
yes.
Philosophy for Children. So these are the second graders being taught by our students from Mount Holyoke on how to think
and
critically.
This one? Carrots? Planting carrots?
Planting carrots, yes. Yeah, so it's a variety of colleges across the country that are engaged in community activities. And this is a case where the faculty, students, and staff are working with community members to identify the specific challenges that they have and to work together to solve them.
Excellent. Welcome week.
Yes. Again, these are activities that bring not only prospective students in, but community members to ensure that they feel a place of welcome and belonging in the institution that's in their community.
Excellent.
Especially important given the mistrust in higher
Right.
education. And then public health programs throughout the country where students are working to deliver caregiving to patients who otherwise wouldn't have access.
Right. I think this is going green.
Yes, yes.
Pets
sustainability.
care,
Right.
donations.
Yep. Same clothing insecurity.
And this is, and now
shelter.
turn to Dr. Thank you very much, Professor Lynn. So let's clap for Dr. Lynn for all the initiatives she shared with us. And now it's turn to Dr. Evren Tok to share with us his initiatives at Hamad bin Khalifa University. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Dr. Abdelhamid. This is one example of one of our courses on global inequalities, and specifically we work on SDG 10, how to reduce inequalities, and students actually work on Lego Serious Play to ideate and come up with some kind of new imaginaries, and then we use some special pieces of Lego Serious Play to make connections where our students, and these are all different levels of students, like from executive to like the graduate students, master students, some of them are PhD students, and then some of our senior executive programs where we kind of look at the connections between different models, how the different models can learn from each other. These are some of our teacher trainings, how teachers can incorporate design thinking and also values. And that was specifically for the participants of the Interfaith Initiative. And this was the first Arabic Lego Serious Play we did about improving educational outcomes. And this was another one about sustainability. And this was more about leadership styles. And yeah, there's plenty of
Brilliant, thank you very much. Let's clap for Hamad bin Khalifa initiatives in civic engagement. So thank you very much. Here at Qatar University, let me share with you, I know we're running out of time, lots of activities we do at Qatar University, which I'm really grateful for, enriching the students' civic engagement experience, making them giving back to the community without hesitation. So we always collaborate with the Volunteer Center at Qatar University. We also collaborate with Doha Films Institute, WISE and WISH initiatives at Qatar Foundation, FIFA Volunteer, Reach Out to Asia, Qatar Red Crescent, TAM Network for Volunteers, and DREAMA for orphan students. These are some of our students who gave us the consent to show their pictures, cleaning the environment. And this is the latest one about the natural disasters in Morocco from our students in UNIF 200 course. Students are sharing their views and perspectives and raising awareness about how can we donate, writing a hope message and well wishes. Some of the posters that we had in Arabic and in English with our colleagues and with our director, it was really engaging and very emotional. Here, this is sand dune cleaning. We cleaned more than, as far as I remember, 300 kilos of plastic from desert. So I was involved there and I really enjoyed it with all male and female students. And as you can see, they are very happy at the end of the day. It was a bit sunny, but we all enjoyed it. Here, beach cleaning. So we started to clean plastics from the beach. And this is really showing how can we make workers at university feel that they are part of our community. So students designed a one-day program, and I would like to share this short video with you. So the cleaners at the GCR female building at Qatar University were invited to participate in a whole day on a Saturday, and they came happily. The students designed some activities like how to write their names in Arabic. They are not Arab, and they taught them a bit of cultures of the Qatari culture, and they really enjoyed it. They had some fun activities. It was really amazing. And they showed them some films with translations, and they gave them some gifts at the end of the day. We've got also the FIFA World Cup. This is something that I would like to end with, the FIFA volunteer, and I took the consent of one of my students. He showed his e-portfolio that is part of the UNIF 220 course, and what I would like to focus on today is the highlights. He has created a wonderful video which shows his experience of voluntary service in the FIFA World Cup. So I'll let you enjoy it. Yes, thank you very much. Just stop. That's it. I would like to thank you very much for your attendance and for our elite guests and their sharing their insightful experience. It was really a pleasure having you at Qatar University throughout all the different experiences we have seen today. Thank you very much for everybody. Thank you.